Hey out there on this most somber day, September 11th. I was just thinking, I'm outside, I'm trading stocks under my gazebo in the back of my beautiful house, and how good my life is. And yet, on this day, many years ago, we lost so many people in the towers. I started reflecting selfishly about where I was and what my thoughts were on that particular day. At first, I didn't have anybody directly related to me or that I loved that lost their lives that day in the towers. But where I live now, in New Jersey, quite a few people locally had family members that had passed. And it just, once you're gone, you're gone. Like one day you're here and one day you're not, and then the family afterwards. It was a very somber day. I was thinking that, I was in Florida. I remember where I was. I was walking into the mortgage company I worked at, and I saw the towers. And anyway, thinking back to where my mindset was at the time, and I guess about 7 years prior to the attacks, I was in the military. I was in the infantry, and I'm only smiling because you smile at it when you get nervous or when you're about to say something that maybe you're not that proud of. And that's what happens with me. So when I saw the towers going down, it brought me back to my soldier days. Infantry is a foot soldier. Infantry is, the saying in the infantry was, you're either in the infantry or you support the infantry. I guess that was our way of having pride, but the foot soldier has to go in and clean everything up. It's hand-to-hand combat, it's door-to-door, it's, getting up into the enemy's face. And a war can't end without the infantry. My mentality back then, when September 11th came along, was it brought me back to 7 years before that when I was a soldier, and I was thinking, I'd love to get me an ounce of flesh. I'd love to get some revenge, get rid of this hate that I was feeling. I couldn't even put a face on it. I know there's something out there that I could destroy, because that's what I was feeling at the time. Trained as a soldier, and the silver lining or the underlying feeling that I got at the time, or very quickly afterwards, was how we came together as a country. Put aside the differences, what we look like, religious, politics. It all went to the side, and we embraced each other as if we were just all neighbors, living in utopia, in our own country's utopia, and it was us against the world. And how else would have I thought, being trained as a soldier, that I just want to go and I just want to destroy something so that I can get rid of this hate and this anger and this darkness that I got inside of me. You gotta return hate with hate, right? Well, that's not how I think today. Anyway, I was just bringing, so that's why it was such a somber day for me, that although I didn't lose anybody directly related to me that I loved in my family or a neighbor or something like that, that I still felt it. And I'm sure you guys did too. So, I just want to say that. And I also, I drive by one of my neighbor's house. It's tied in to this day, which is, I didn't know that it would be. I drive by one of my neighbor's houses that has their political stances flag above the United States flag. And I drove by it 2 days ago, and I came home and I vented to Diane, and there were some curse words flying around. I had looked up whether or not there was a law against that, and there is, except it's not punishable and it's not enforced to fly a flag above the United States. What I wanted to do, it wasn't the same as when September 11th happened, and I wanted to grab my M16 and my grenade launcher underneath, and I wanted to bring the other guys that I was in the military with and go over there and destroy something. I'm not saying that it was to that extent when I saw the flag flying above the United States flag, but in a much more subtle way. I'm not going out of my way to be warm to my neighbor I'd like to go over there and say something to him, but I probably won't even do that. But what I'll do is I won't wave to him. You know, I'm not going to ask him out to dinner. Not that I was asking him out to dinner before, but I always waved and commented on the grass and stuff like that, and I'm not going to be doing that. And I don't want that. I don't want to be like that. So I was thinking about when people dig their heels in, and maybe I'll be making some analogies with the military, but if you're digging trenches and you really get embedded into a position and you're defending it, and then you look out, what you've been defending is nothing but a couple acres of mud. Something clicks in your head, like, what am I doing? What am I doing out here? And I'm thinking about the current political atmosphere. And I've never made a video where I talk politics or anything else controversial. If you look back at my 505 videos, I don't even talk smack about anybody. It's about how we can help each other and having fun and stuff like that. So this is a video that I'm not used to making. I want to be friendly with my neighbor, but because I know where they stand politically, I don't have the ability to. I wish I could put that to the side and go over and ask him if he wants to go out for a cup of coffee, but I can't. I don't hate. I think you get my point there. So how do we solve this issue? Well, maybe you changed your mind over the past couple of years about where you stand politically. But you dug in, just like I explained, that when you dig a trench and then you find out that you were defending a bunch of land that's just mud and has no value. How do you dig yourself out of that trench? For me personally, many years ago, matter of fact, just over 21 years ago, I had to admit that I was living my life the wrong way. And I dug in for many years defending it, whether, I don't think it was verbally, but it was, in my head, the way that I was living my life was the right way to live. And I needed to reach some sort of a bottom before I would admit that I was wrong. That's tough. That's tough admitting when you're wrong. So I was thinking with my neighbor or anybody else that dug in, that is entrenched, and now they're looking out over a field that doesn't really have any value. How do they get out? The beautiful thing is you don't even have to admit it. Here's another analogy. It's almost like, this isn't original, I heard this before, but it's almost like when you go into a room that's dark and you flip on the switch and the light comes about. It's not like the light and the dark are fighting over who's gonna occupy that space. The darkness just disappears and the light just comes on. So the same thing could happen in this situation. You don't have to admit anything. We understand what happened. You don't have to admit it. You just have to take down the flag. And then we move on. I mean, it almost sounds like it almost sounds too easy. That you could just walk away from the trench that you dug and go on to something new. But I do believe that it could be that easy. I'll end with this. I was thinking about like how we had the Civil War and how a whole group of states could secede from the rest of the Union. Yeah, there was a lot of other issues involved. The main issue that was being defended was the institution of slavery, which we would all agree on today isn't right. And yet we had a whole group of states that were defending that. And then we had a whole other group of states, the Northerners, that looked down upon that way of life. And yet we were able to come together afterwards. So this pulling down the flag, that should be a cinch. Pull down the flag, the first cup of coffee at Starbucks is on me.